Few things affect people more than the topic of money, yet we don't talk much about it. We trudge along and hope things will work out, but never really know for sure. I think it's time for some answers. Hi, I'm Tom Stone, and welcome to Talking About Dollars and Sensibility. Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company. Your loan on time, every time. We're located at 175 North Main Street, right here in Heber City. Our phone number is easy. It's 435-654-9979. That's 654-9975. Whoops, I said that too fast. 654-9979. Or just come by and see us. We're located right next to the car wash on Main Street in the Tate Building. Today's show is a little bit different. It might even be the most exciting show I've had yet. I have invited more than one guest with me here. That's not to say that I need to be outnumbered or anything about that, but this title of the show is called Kids These Days. And the reason that is I've heard that phrase a whole lot, where people, and it's mostly about complaining, kids these days. And so I've had some experience with some kids these days, and I thought, I'm going to invite them on the show. I'm going to see what these kids these days know, how well prepared they are, what they have to do. So I'm going to actually let each one of them introduce themselves and just tell us your plans. So we're going to start with President Bocanegra.
Okay.
Your turn.
Yes, my name is Katrina Bocanegra, and I am the chapter president at Wasatch High School for FBLA, which is the Future Business Leaders of America.
Thank you.
My name is Luke Searle. I'm a senior at Wasatch High School, and I am the executive vice president of the Wasatch chapter for FBLA.
Awesome. Liz.
My name is Elizabeth Barrett, and I am the historian at our chapter at FBLA at Wasatch High School.
Tate.
And last but not least, I'm Tate Stone, treasurer and president for 6 days of the Wasatch High School FBLA chapter.
Obviously, titles mean a whole lot. So let's go back to you, President Bocanegra. Tell us what FBLA is, and I want to hear some of the success as well. But tell us what it is for those who don't know or have heard about it and don't know all the details.
Okay. Well, it's a national organization, and basically it's a club for middle school students and high school students to get involved with business and compete. There are state competitions every year, as well as national competitions every year. And Wasatch High School won state this year for the 5th time in a row. So our chapter is really great in Utah. And so there's 11 of us that will be going to nationals this year in Nashville this summer.
Tell us what it means to win state. Is this a 3A, 4A, 5A thing?
Winning state is a really big deal because it's every single high school in Utah that has an FBLA chapter. So this year there are about 90 or more chapters that were involved, and we won out of all of those schools.
So
it's a really
all the
big
schools, 1A through 5A,
Exactly.
correct? So it truly is that big of a deal.
It truly is.
And then and then it isn't only 5 in a row, but I think I heard it's 10 out of the last 12.
Yes, it is, yeah. Wasatch High School definitely has the best FBLA chapter in the state, and we will continue. Well, hopefully. We're all seniors, so we're just hoping that the kids below us will continue on that tradition.
Luke, so what do you do at FBLA tournaments, and what do you do during FBLA?
There's many events that people can compete in. There are tests that people do take, and there are individual and team events where they go and present their skills. For example, me and Tate are on the banking and financial systems team, where we go and we either ask for loans or deny people loans, and in that interview setting, it's a really fun experience. So it really gives kids in high school a first-hand experience in the business world without necessarily being in it.
So tell me a little more about experience. You said we get to apply for loans, and we also get to approve or deny a loan.
Yeah.
So both sides of the table when it comes to banking.
Yeah, and then you have to sort of explain it to them. It's usually like the decision's already happened, like the bank's already thinking that they're going to deny you this loan because this, and this, and you have to persuade them to think otherwise, or necessarily you need to comfort your person because they got denied a loan. You're telling them this is what needs to happen, this is when you can get it. So
not only persuade or comfort, but you explain.
Yeah.
Liz, have you enjoyed FBLA?
Oh, definitely.
Now, what is it that you like about it? What is it that's been something that's kept you coming back?
Well, I started freshman year. Some of my friends and some seniors that I knew got me into it. And starting out, I just did some more of the tests And then when I got older, I started doing more presentation events. And doing that was really exciting because it was something new, something different. And I learned a lot from it. And it's always a lot of fun. You get to go with your friends and just practice your business skills.
Were you nervous to present?
Yeah, it's always nerve-wracking.
And who do you present to?
There's judges that will come up. A lot of times they're local business owners.
So actually real life people are there to ask certain questions,
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
and try and do they correct you or just listen?
They just listen, but then afterwards they have a sheet they fill out and they'll give you advice and comments on the bottom.
Tate, what's your advice to anybody who's an 8th grader, 9th grader at this point about FBLA?
I would say to them, make sure you're a part of it, and as much of a part of it as you can be. And so, you know, as I didn't actually do it all 4 years. I've only done it the last 2 years, but it's been fantastic. And what's great about FBLA is if you work hard, you can see results. Not too many times in, you know, with basketball, you can work your guts out, but you may not just be good enough, you know, to make the team. With FBLA, if you really work your guts out, you can win. And all of us have done that.
So work ethic is paying off in FBLA.
Absolutely.
So it isn't just about who's smartest?
Yeah, even though that tends to be Wasatch. But
So there's a little confidence there. So maybe you've already answered this, but I want you to think about this as a separate question. Are you the wiser, smarter, more understanding of life to come because of your FBLA experience, again, starting with Katrina, President Bocanegra?
Yeah, I feel like without FBLA, I wouldn't know where I want to be in 10 years with a career. Before I started FBLA, I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do with my life. I just thought, maybe I'll be a writer, make it somehow. But realistically, business is the best field to go into because there are so many job opportunities and you can create jobs and you can be an entrepreneur. And so FBLA has taught me that I can be a business leader.
Tell me more details. Is there something specific you want to do? You say business in general. Is there something more specific you are interested in, or are you going to see how it goes?
Yeah, I want to get a degree from BYU in human resources. I think that sounds really interesting to learn about the way that people function in a business. And so I hope to one day work for a big company as an HR director.
Cool. Luke, same question.
I think what I've gained a lot from with FBLA is understanding the American enterprise system and how wonderful that system is, and I would love to be a part of that as my future. And that's what FBLA has given me, the opportunity not only to learn about it, but to be a leader within the organization. So I think that I am wiser for that, and hopefully I want to get my major get my degree in business management with an emphasis in finance and a double minor in political science and economics. So that's something that FBLA has steered me into that direction of business.
So your answer to the degrees kind of gave me what you think you're going into, but you said American business, you said enterprise, and a lot of big words. Tell us a little more specific what that might mean.
So I'm not necessarily looking for to start my own business in that sense, but necessarily being a management position in a bigger type of company.
So do you want to go in the corporate world?
Yes. That's
some of these big names you hear about, you want to be in management up there? And
yeah, that'd be really cool to start doing.
Liz, are you any of the wiser because of your FBLA experience, and if so, what have you learned?
I think that FBLA has helped me to be more wise in a sense that it helps me push myself in ways that I wouldn't normally push myself and try new things. And it's helped me learn a lot about design. I usually do presentation events in the design field, and so I'll design like a newsletter or something. And that has actually been really fun for me. And I've learned that I'm actually pretty good at it. And so I might want to do that when I'm older.
Awesome. Tate, she just said pushes myself. She said, I've had this push myself. Has this pushed you into anything?
Yeah, it's pushed me into things, but I think in addition, it's pushed me away from things. It's given me an opportunity to see things that I don't like. You know, when you go and you participate in these competitions, you're able to meet with people who do these jobs, who are accountants and who are small business owners, and you know, as you participate in the events, you get to do the things they do every single day for their jobs. And so, you can see, like, I don't really like the accounting side of things. However, I do love the marketing side of things, or I do love sales or something like that. So I think that's one of the great things about FBLA, that there are so many facets of business that it covers that you really can find something that you enjoy and you're good at.
President Bocanegra, so you've had to have the responsibility of the whole chapter. Speak on behalf of the whole chapter rather than individually on what you've seen others grow from, what you've seen happen, what you watched as freshman or sophomore. Kind of just tell us the evolving experience of FBLA generally with the kids specifically at Wasatch.
Okay. I think one of the goals of FBLA is to educate students about business, but I think one of the larger goals about FBLA that we don't always recognize is it teaches kids self-confidence and how to learn how to work with other people and how to create new things and succeed in what they do. And I've seen a lot of underclassmen become very successful in their events through team events by working with other people. And I've also seen younger students who do really well on tests. We give them a lot of encouragement and they gain confidence from that.
I want to hear an example. Do you or any of you guys have an example of seeing an underclassman who maybe came in a little bit shy, a little bit not sure of themselves, and then had Liz? Let's hear it.
My little sister actually started this year. She's a freshman. Her name's Amy. And Amy is she's not outgoing. She's kind of keeps to herself. But these guys wanted her to really push herself. And so they had her compete in business plan and business financial plan, which is a presentation event. And she was so nervous to do it.
I bet.
And right before, she was kind of freaking out. But we went over it with her and we helped her. And they ended up placing first in business financial plan, and that you could see like the confidence build in her, because she could see that if I really try and if I push myself, then I can succeed.
Now you said was that a team event?
Yeah, that was with Tate and Katrina.
How cool. So Tate and Katrina, what did you do versus what Amy did? So did you allow her to do certain things? Did you hold her hand through it? Tell me how you kind of led her along in that experience. Go ahead, Tate.
Well, when we started, we wrote the plan up. So we had like a real business plan that we would show a bank and give a presentation about. We want a loan because we want to start this business and why it'll be successful. So we wrote that all up. And, in the presentation, we gave Amy specific parts that she was to explain. That, she would say why we think we'll be successful with our marketing campaign, or, our social media approach is good. And I'll tell you, before we went in, I was very worried about her stuff, because she was reading it and like, I just can't remember it, and I don't, she walked in there. She was as calm as could be.
She was really
very
good.
eloquent. Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason that she was successful in it is because we made the event fun. We called our business Ye Old Print Shop. It's a custom design and print shop, and we made it medieval themed, and so we kind of went off that theme and had fun with it. And so that's what made it enjoyable to do, is that it was fun and funny.
Tell us a little more about that business, the old print shop. Tell us just a little bit, give us 30 seconds on the business plan. What is it?
Okay, so it's located in Alpine, Utah, and it provides custom print items, whether it be clothing or accessories, to anyone. You don't have to buy it in bulk orders. That's our big focus. And so we want to hire part-time college students in the area that we can pay $10 an hour, and we plan on making a large profit within our first 6 years.
A 6-year plan. Okay. Luke, let me expand this just for a little bit. I want you to explain to the listeners. So we talked about FBLA. We're going to come back to FBLA, but I want to talk about your high school experience, your public education experience, and how well you feel like your public education experience, clear from K through 12, has helped prepare you for the next step in life.
So I grew up in Wyoming, and I moved to Heber City in 8th grade. So my public education is just a little bit different than maybe what these guys experience. I generally think this education is almost the same, K through 5. And going up through there, I think the biggest benefit was in high school being able to sort of expand out, and with the new facility of Wasatch High School, all the things that you're able to do. I thought was so awesome. Even giving tours, because I'm in student government, giving tours to 8th graders. There was actually there's this welding room in the back of the high school that I had no clue was there. But there's some opportunities for kids that they'll be able to expand, and I think that's the great thing about public education now, that specifically before people couldn't go expand. It was just sort of a basic kind of deal. Now people can actually say what they want to do. Like the business department, I wanted to go into business, so now there's these classes that are offered to me that I have awesome teachers, and I think that's helped with my education. It sort of helped me figure out where I want to go to school and what I want to do.
So you've had a positive experience.
Yeah, it's generally positive. Specifically, yeah, it's been good.
You're listening to KTMP 1340 AM, your hometown radio station, and today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company, closing loans and opening doors since 1960. And today's show is talking about kids these days, specifically our seniors at Wasatch High School. Same question. Liz, tell me your K through 12 public school experience and how well it's prepared you for life to come.
Similar to Luke, I moved here in 5th grade, so I've had the middle school and high school experience here. But I think overall it's been a really positive experience. Going into high school, I didn't realize how many elective choices there were. There is so many opportunities to take different classes and see what you like. And I've taken a wide variety of classes, whether it comes to art or business. And
Why have you chosen wide variety?
Because there was so many things offered that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Especially a freshman, you don't know what you really want to go into usually. And that was the same for me. So I just went into different classes and I found out what I liked and what I really didn't like. And that was a great experience at Wasatch High School.
Have you seen any difference, Liz, again? Were you there? I guess you went to the old high school and the new one? Or you went to the new one all the way through,
I
right?
went to the new one.
You guys
all
are the
way
first
through.
class? Second class. Okay, then I can't ask that question. I was assuming something that's not correct. So, Tate, what's your experience K through 12 and how it's prepared you for life to come?
I think that public education K through 12 has done probably the best job it could do in preparing everyone for the real world. However, I do think that a lot of the time school can get in the way of learning. A lot of teachers, sometimes it turns into a lot of busy work or discipline problems or behavioral problems. And I think, what would be a great addition to what we have now would be a big focus on doing internships in local businesses and, getting real world experience that you can put on your application when you turn it into a job. You're not going to put on your resume that you took 5 business classes in high school, But if you have an internship at a bank and you were a teller and you learned, the ins and outs of that, that's a great addition to your resume. So I think that, it did the best it could, but I think there is room for improvement.
So there's some real life skills integration-wise into the schooling system that you believe could benefit.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, it's difficult for a teacher to teach, 5 unrelated topics and be an expert on all of them. And so a lot of the time it just turns into, you're watching videos about it or you're filling in a packet, and that's the best they can do. But real world experience, I think, trumps, sitting in a classroom watching a video.
Katrina, what do you think about that? Does real life experience, he used the words trump, book experience. Can you learn real stuff from a classroom, a teacher, and a book?
Yeah, definitely you can. And there's positives to both sides, whether you're doing hands-on work or learning from a book. A lot of it depends on the material being taught and then your learning style. For example, I'm a nanny, and so I feel like I've learned a lot more from nannying than I have from a lot of my classes that I've taken at the high school, just because I've learned, like I took a child development class at the high school, and it was actually pretty informative. I really enjoyed it, but I feel like I've learned a lot more by being a nanny because I actually see how these kids grow and develop and what their thought processes thought process is.
Mhm.
And so it's really interesting that way.
Luke, your feeling on that?
I am actually a teller at UCCU at the WASP branch, which is a branch within the high school. So every other day during second lunch, I am there. So if anybody at the Wasatch High School needs to take out money, deposit money, in any sort of the sense, I can be able to do that for them, and I have my own. I'm a teller there. So it's a great experience for me to do that, and the work-based learning program at the high school is cool, but it's something that a lot of people don't know very much about, and I think that they need to exploit it a little bit more, because if you're going to be going into any type of field, be it medical or business or any other, there's internships out there that are within the community that mentoring helps. And I think just relating it back to FBLA, why we were successful was because and I think we'll continue to be successful is because we are mentored, and like Liz's little sister has been mentored, so now she can mentor people, and that's sort of something that the public education system sort of needs here.
Let's jump there real quick. So again, Tate and Katrina, I guess you, since the example was brought up with Amy, you mentored her, correct? So you've probably been mentored, and now you had the opportunity to mentor someone else. Tell me about that. Tell me how both sides of that experience has worked.
Well, someone that really helped me, like Luke mentioned, he and I worked on business financial plan, so we worked on banking and financial systems, which is, loans and how banks operate. And when we went into that, we didn't really know much. However, we did have a senior, Zach McNaughton, and he knew all about it. So when we were preparing before we were to go in and present to judges, we'd say, well, what about this? And you say, well, actually, this is kind of how it is. This is a good approach. And we've been able to take those same approaches and, pass them along. So I think it has been a great thing to have a mentor that can teach you, and then you teach the person next to you. So
it isn't just the teacher.
No.
Maybe not even specifically the teacher that may have had some of the best influences. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. And I mean, it's difficult for a teacher to have a personal impact on 30 kids 6 times a day. But if you have somebody who, is your friend that that you trust, that can say, let me show you how to do this in a non-threatening or judgmental way, people are going to listen, and they're going to learn and thrive.
But there's also somebody that we have to do a big shout out to, because we probably wouldn't be as far as we are without our advisor, Mrs. DeStefano. And she's, like, as far as that goes, has done so much for us in FBLA, and just for us personally. It's been really awesome for her being the mentor to us, and specifically how do we do these specific events, and she'll tell us, because that's a big key for us winning, and that's why we've won so much for the 12 years. It's not the same kids, because we're cycling through. It's those advisors that have done a great job, which is Marge Carlisle, Susan Edwards, and Kristen DeStefano.
Yeah, Mrs. DeStefano and Mrs. Edwards, they know what the judges are looking for and what our reports need to look like, and so they help us, and so we can get the points where they need to be to get first place, so that we're working on things that will actually get us points instead of just doing busy work for our events.
So Liz, when I hear what was just said, I just heard that they know what the judges are looking for. Is that cheating?
I don't think so. They hand out what are they called?
The rubrics.
The rubrics beforehand. You can get them online. They're not secret, and they say exactly what we're looking for. Business quality, dressing nice, and then it depends on the event, how well you know the information. And if you don't utilize those rubrics that they give you, that's just dumb. It's not cheating at all.
How does that apply to real life?
Well, it's like in a business, if you have a boss or someone that says, I need a report like this by Friday, that leaves it out to a lot of interpretation. But if you sit down and you say, exactly what do you want? I have some questions. Tell me what you are wanting. You're going to be a million times more successful than if you just guess because you're too nervous to ask.
Yeah.
Spot on there. So it's not cheating, it's real life. Sometimes we, in real life, do the opposite of what Tate just described. We say, here's what we should do, but I'm not sure what to do. And we're scared to ask. Or we don't look. Maybe we're too lazy. So that's a huge real life quality and skill. It's awesome. Liz, if you were in charge of Wasatch County School District. So you're Superintendent Barrett. Would you do anything differently?
I guess I would try to prepare high school students a little more for the real world. I think that sometimes they skip over things that we actually need to do, like pay taxes and, you know, buy a house, stuff like that. I honestly don't know how to do that. And I'm just figuring that once I get to it, I'll figure it out. But I know how to do a lot of things that I won't use in my real life. And so I think that the school district could do more, have more focus on the real world.
Luke, if you were in charge, same question.
I think that something that would have been beneficial to know is I took classes my freshman and sophomore year towards a career that I'm not going towards anymore, more towards the medical field. And I think something beneficial that I could see it just in our high school alone is finding kids that all want to do the same kind of things, and necessarily take classes in which that you're similarly connected, or necessarily I think that there's a misconnection there that we're just all on this on our own, when actually there's going to be several people that are going to want to go into the same kind of area as you. And then especially mentoring wise, like there's seniors that I could tell these freshmen, don't take this class, don't take this class, don't take this class, you're wasting your time. Sorry, if you're not going to take drafting, if you're not going to be in drafting, don't take drafting like I did. I took drafting for some reason. So I think that's something that could help, that maybe not necessarily on the school district scale, but also policies that have students' voices. I think when students will feel more involved and more part of it when their voice is heard within the schools and within the district. Such as policies like door policies within our high school, and things like,
I don't know what that is.
So that basically means that after 8:30 every day, the high school doors, except for the front door, is locked now.
Okay.
And so necessarily what has happened like a couple days ago, when there is a guy on the loose and you need to lock down the school, it's beneficial that way. But students knowing this beforehand, because they implemented this on a Tuesday in the middle of a week, where in 2 weeks later they could have done it when the term ended, and they can do things where they can smooth things over, treat kids like adults. And that's why I wish, like, sometimes the administration says they're treating us like adults, and they don't. So like we can be treated like kids. You can just tell us that we're being treated like kids, or you can treat us like adults and tell us that we're treating like adults. That's what I wish would happen. And then just having a little bit more students' voice within school policy.
Awesome. President, anything to add?
No.
You like that? Tate, anything to add? If you were superintendent, would you add anything or subtract anything?
No, I really liked what Elizabeth said, that, a lot of people, we can do trigonometry, but don't know how to apply for a job. So I think, I would love to know how to apply for a mortgage, how to apply to college, how to do, here's the scholarship packet. Good luck, I think there could be a big focus on realistic learning objectives.
Well spoken. You're listening to KTMP 1340 AM, your hometown radio station. Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company, closing loans and opening doors since 1960. Today is a show about kids these days and what we're dealing with, and how we, being parents, teachers, the community, are preparing our kids for the real world. Let's start with, who's next? Who have I not picked on? Let's go back to you, President.
Okay.
Have you ever bought a car on your own?
I haven't, no. I planned on buying a car on my own, but then my parents got an extra car for our family that I drive around, so that was unnecessary.
So that works.
Yeah.
Any one of you four ever bought a car on your own? Okay, that's an answer. Have you ever budgeted? Have you ever sat down and done a personal budget?
Yes, I have.
Okay, tell us about it.
I have been working on budgeting a lot lately because I need to pay for everything next year when I go to college. And so I've never really worried about that until now. And so now I'm focusing on my spending habits. I'm trying to save as much as I can so that I can prepare for when I need to pay for my apartment and my food and my books and everything that I need. So I haven't actually spent money in a week, which is really good for me, actually. And so I want to see how long I can go with only spending money on the things that I really need. that's what I'm working on.
And
right
what
now.
triggered this again? Why all of a sudden you're doing this?
The realization that I need to pay for everything in college and that I don't have a lot of money right now, so I better start saving it.
Did this come from you, from your parents, from the school? Where did this come from?
Just from me.
So your realization is, oh, real life.
Real life is coming up fast. I better stop goofing off and act serious and save money.
Is there a chance, by the way, that you're acting too serious? Could you get too serious and not have fun in life?
Yeah, definitely. I have a couple friends that they don't spend money on anything. They never go out to eat. They never buy new clothes. They never buy anything. And I'm not like that. I think I've developed a good balance where I can have fun and go out to eat every now and then and go shopping, but not go overboard.
Beautifully spoken. Anyone else budgeting right now or trying to budget? Anyone?
Yeah, I've
Anyone?
done budgets before.
Okay, let's hear it.
You know, I don't really like do a monthly budget, but if there's a specific goal, a financial goal that I'm going for, I'll budget out so that I know I have enough. Like at FBLA Nationals last summer, you know, we had some money and then we had to pay for all of our food. And I don't know why. Everything is so expensive down where, you know, everyone is, like California. So anyway, so we wanted to go to the nicest restaurant in Disneyland, the Blue Bayou, the one that's all fancy in New Orleans town, if you've ever been there.
In Disneyland.
In Disneyland.
Got it.
So we, you know, how are we going to do that? So I had to come up, you know, we can only spend this much on breakfast. We're not going to have any snacks, or we don't need breakfast this day. And, you know, instead of going to a somewhat nice restaurant for lunch, let's, you know, go to the grocery store or buy something, you know. And doing that, I mean, it's simple. You just budget out and you follow it. That's the key to success with a budget, I think.
Tate, give us 30 seconds on self-control. How have you dealt with self-control?
Self-control, I think, is probably one of the best things you can ever master in your life, because when you do, you're in control of your situation and you're able to best come up with solutions to your problems. Like for myself, I just wanted to see like how long I could do it, and I was a vegan with like no processed foods, no animal products, no animals, nothing. So I ate like beans for 6 weeks, and it was miserable and awful, but I did it because I told myself I would do it, and I didn't give in, and I did it. So, and it was a great skill that I learned afterwards. So when you're doing something that's awful and you don't want to do, you just push through because there is an end.
Mm-hmm. Great advice.
I have a budget. I was thinking about it. Personal budget. I need to do better in budgeting. But being the senior class president this year, we have money. The money that comes in for prom is put in for the senior class budget. So me and my co-president, Sarah Matthews, have the privilege to spend that money
and responsibility.
And responsibility to spend that money and spend it in which ways that the seniors are going to be most benefited. So every 14th of every month we give a senior giveaway. So we give something to the seniors. You're special because you're a senior. Just trying to get them through the year, and then we're starting to plan the senior graduation party, and that's a big part of the budget, just making sure that we do have enough money for this party, and I think we're hopefully going to have a lot more than we are originally intended.
So your experience is budgeting for a group, for an entity. Yeah. Personally, though, you say I could use a little work.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Have you ever done a budgeting class in school?
Financial literacy is somewhat budgeting, but the teller internship, I know how to budget. I just need to budget.
Liz, I'm going to ask you a question that it'll put you on the spot, and that's okay if you have like not an answer or wrong answer. But so let's fast forward. You're going to have to buy your own car.
Okay.
Take me through the steps. What do you know about buying a car? And you have to get a loan on it, by the way. Let's just take it. What do you know?
Well, I don't know a lot, but if I were to start, I guess I would try to see how much money I have, how much I could spend, find a price range, then start researching cars in that price range, and finding reviews on which one will last the longest, stuff like that. And then I guess I would go to a bank, and I don't ask for a loan. I don't know how to do that. And I see, that's what I'm worried about, because once I get out there, I really don't know how to do it. I always think, oh, I'll figure it out when I get there.
When are you where do you get your research?
Google, I don't know.
So on the internet.
On the
searching out.
internet, yeah.
Mhm. Are you going to get a car that's completely economical, or some of it's going to be fun? Have you thought about this?
Well, with the car, I'm not super into, having the cool car. The car I have now, my parents bought me, but it's really economical, and is that right? And I really like it. And so I'd probably buy something similar with good gas mileage, and it'd be more of a practical car.
So you don't need the fancy sports car.
No, it's not me.
So for those of you who have done banking and finance, can you help Liz out? Give her some advice on what's the next step then. She's found the car. She's done her research. She's set up her budget. Now what?
Well, I would say if you're buying it from a used car dealer, that not to just use his loan service. I would say, I would comparison shop, because a lot of the time they can offer great deals if you buy the car from them. They'll help you with the loan. But I would, make sure you worry about the interest rate. And I would go shop around to other banks and let them know that you're shopping around. So, they'll offer you the very best that they can do for you. And they'll try to help you out. They really will. You just got to make sure that they don't take too much of an advantage of you.
How do you...
And just knowing what you can and cannot buy, getting yourself into a hole in which that you know that you won't be able to buy that car, something that's would haunt you for the rest of your life. So something, just making sure that you know what your limit is and what your budget is.
So with what you just said, Luke, can you or any of you define depreciation?
It's basically, not in a car standpoint, it's just basically the sort of downward value. I mean, as the value goes down because you've had it for so long, or you've driven it for so long, and then usually cars depreciate based on their ratings and reviews. Like, for example, like Toyota depreciates less than U.S. companies currently. So there's my...
Did that make sense to you, Katrina? Does that make sense? How do you do? Would you improve on that depreciation definition, or
No,
what?
I think that's great.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anyone want to add on the depreciation topic?
Well, everything depreciates. Every single thing you buy is going to be worth less as soon as you touch it. And so, it's just kind of a common a factor of economics that, when you buy something and then turn around and try and sell it, you're going to have to sell it for less unless it's become an antique and it can be worth even more than you paid for it. So I think that's just one good thing to understand, that you're not going to be able to sell it for what you bought it for.
Is there anything out there that is an appreciable asset rather than a depreciable asset?
Well, cars can appreciate.
The old ones can.
If you buy like a 1967 Mustang, that's going to be worth, a lot more than the $45,000 you paid for originally. If you hold on to it long enough and take good care of it and things like that.
And then it depends also, there's things that what people use it. Like, I was watching an episode of West Wing, and they had a picture that was worthless, and then they hung it in the White House, and it appreciated its value like huge amounts because of where those things have been. That's sometimes a factor in things appreciating.
So there's a lot of things. This research that you have to do, you have to research. What you're telling me, by the way, is a term called supply and demand. You have to have, is it a unique thing that people want? Or is there a bunch of stuff out there, a million things that's going to be worth less? Now, the one thing I want you to realize with an appreciable asset is most times your house. Yes, the market will still go up and down on that, but buying a house can be, should be, and will be the major appreciable asset you will ever purchase. So, and I know you already did this, but I want to see what you know. Who wants to tell me how to buy a house? Anybody? I know you already said you don't know. I know that, but I want to know what you know. So I want to buy a house.
Hey, you go to 175 North Main Street.
Bingo.
The Tate Building.
Good job.
You go see Tom Stone, mortgage loan officer.
That's right.
He
That's
takes care of you.
I was a lead-in. I didn't quite mean it to be so obvious, but
I guess the obvious things is finding a home that fits you, right? You're not gonna, if you're just a new couple, you're not gonna buy a house with 7 bedrooms in it. So I guess finding that home that's right for you, and then getting into the nitty-gritty about how long you want to live in that house is a big thing too, on how long you want your mortgage to be. If you want a 10-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, or how that goes. And I think another thing that I don't really necessarily know a lot about, and people is refinancing, is that once you get into that house, what the whole refinancing deal is. So.
you guys know more than you're saying. Good job. Wonderfully explained. Who knows what the future value of money is in relationship with compound interest? Future value of money in relationship with compound interest. Anybody?
I really don't know much about that, but I do know that Albert Einstein once said that compound interest was the 8th wonder of the world.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, it really can be if it works in your favor.
And that's what I'm talking about. Explain it.
You know, like we've all heard the stupid thing that's like, would you rather get $5,000 or start with a penny and have it double every day for a month, you know? Because, you know, the one thing I did learn from math that is applicable is exponential functions.
Okay.
If something starts building on each other, it'll build on itself until it's just exponentially big. That's where it comes from.
Yep. That is called future value of money. Well, you just said in compound interest. Let me say it in layman's terms, and you can correct me if it doesn't make sense. So if you put in $5,000 into an interest-bearing account, stocks, investing, savings accounts don't do a very good job at a bank, but you could invest in a company. You could buy stock in a company or a bond, and if you leave it in there long enough, between 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12% interest, you actually earn interest on that money, and then you actually earn interest on the interest of that money, and that's the compound part. And so it will actually grow for you. So that's why if I was to sit down with you and say, let me give you a financial plan personally, which, by the way, I can't emphasize enough, you can't be too young to sit down and make a financial plan. I would say get started as soon as you can, even if it's $1, to invest into future value of money. Put it to stock, buy stocks and bonds, you know, analyze it, understand the market, and later on you might diversify into buying real estate, which is you might buy a house or two. Who knows? But let's talk about money right now. I would say at your age, if you open up an account, and again, if all you did in your budget, Katrina, was to put in $1, $5, what can you budget and put it into an account that is interest bearing? And at first, by the way, Tate, how's your CD doing?
Yeah, so I thought I was smart by getting a certificate of deposit, which is a bank account that you have no access to except for 3 days out of the year because it gives you better interest.
Right.
So I've had this account for probably 8 years, and I think I've made about $20. And I've had like $1,000 in that account.
So you did make money.
I made money doing
the
nothing.
loan, or excuse me, the loan. That's my terminology I always use. The account did make money, made $20, but was that the best use and the best place for it to be?
No, you know, they always say, you know, make your money work for you. You know, you can always put it in a place where it's going to be significantly more successful. You know, like things banks offer you with accounts, CDs, savings accounts, you know, they really don't have the option to give you that great investment. But, you know, there are other options like you've talked about that really produce a lot more income for you by doing nothing. However, they do have higher risks.
Higher risks. Let's go there. Tell us about that. Conservative approach versus risky approach versus rate of return.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, a lot of the time, I mean, there's risk and reward. The more you risk, generally, the more your reward will be. Or you'll lose it all.
Right.
So, you know, like when someone has to invest in a company, a startup especially, you have no idea if that's going to work or not. You have to guess based off of what this person is telling you. And if you trust them, you know, So that's a really risky thing. However, if you buy a big part of that company and it becomes successful, you made a lot of money doing nothing.
The exponential component
Right.
grows exponentially. That's how some of these guys, even the Mark Cuban, for example, has made all their money because they invested or created a business and then people bought stock and it went, times by times by times by times, and it grew incredibly. Now that's sometimes luck, sometimes that's timing.
Right.
So there's so many values in this to worry about. So how do you know what sources to trust? So again, we alluded to Liz doing some research and understanding. There's so as you're listening, there was not a black and white answer to this. Anything: buying a home, buying a car, getting a loan, future value of money, where do I put stocks and bonds, and who do I trust, and how do I go to the car dealer? Okay, there's so many of these values. How do I know where I can find a source that I can trust? Anyone? Luke?
It sort of sound shady at first, but I have a cousin
Mm-hmm.
who he's a financial analyst in Oklahoma City, and he is in a company where they have portfolios at over $1 million where he invests, and then he has a side stock brokership where where I have some of my money invested in where that goes. But I think a good rule of thumb is, even if you can figure out who you do trust, especially in the stock market, don't invest money that you are okay with losing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big thing, is that hopefully these young kids don't just throw all their money in the stock market, because if some of that is you're planning on using just solid money, then you probably don't want to invest all of it. And I think that is diversifying your portfolio is something that is key in order to not only make money but keep the money you have.
Liz, how are you going to do some of this research? You said Google, great place to go, by the way. What about people? How do you? So I will give you advice actually, and to say, definitely go to the internet, get some basic information, but you have to have the person with experience explain some details for you. How do you know where to go? How do you know when it's good advice?
Well, I guess just for me, I would go to adults I trust, whether it be a business teacher who I know knows things about it, or my parents, anyone like that, just some adults that I would trust. That's really who I'd go to first.
Present? How do you do your research?
I think there are some great online options. Like, you can learn which companies are great to invest on when you're on Yahoo Finance.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in economics right now, Luke and I are on the stock market team together.
Mm-hmm.
Stock market game
Yeah.
team. Yeah, we're on the same team, and we research which companies are great to invest in. We read what's projected for them in the next quarter and what their history has been, and so we choose companies to invest in based on that.
So you've done some of this.
Yeah, it's all fake, with fake
Mm-hmm.
thousands of dollars, but you can learn a lot.
Would you feel
from it.
confident enough to try it for real then? Or would that scare you?
If I had that extra money that I didn't need, yeah, I feel confident. But like right now, when I don't have extra money to spend, no, not at all.
Great advice. You're listening to KTMP 1340 AM, your hometown radio station. Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company, closing loans and opening doors since 1960. Today is a show about kids these days. And as you've noticed, if you've been here for the last 50 minutes, kids these days is pretty impressive. Tell us a little about what you guys know about politics. Let's just go for 5 minutes to politics. Anyone?
I think Elizabeth's an expert.
No, I'm the least expert in this room right now.
Luke knows everything about
Luke,
politics.
give us 2 minutes on politics, Luke.
What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about state politics, because the people who are listening right now, I became the state delegate for my precinct for the Republican Party.
What happened about a week ago?
What happened was the Republican and Democratic caucuses. So this is a system in which that is being questioned right now, and there's a bill that's, I don't know if the governor signed it yet, that's actually changes it a little bit about the caucus system. But it happened on Tuesday and Thursday, and now this Thursday there will be a county convention, and some county officials will be well, I don't know if they're going to be changed or not. There's the sheriff's race. I don't know if that's going to change anything with the convention. But basically, it was almost like the real election that happened last week, because the Republican Party has a stronghold in Wasatch County and in Utah, that the primaries and in the caucuses themselves with regard to Utah is basically the election.
Mm-hmm.
So a big challenge was Wilder Smith is a candidate challenging Craig Powell for the state representative. There is a lady named Susan Horrocks, and she's challenging Senator Van Tassel from Vernal. And so there's going to be some hot races that are going to happen, and I'll be able to vote on those April 26th, which is the state convention. So this is an off year, a midterm year. A good cool thing is that our Congressman Jason Chaffetz, I don't think he's being challenged, but I think our district will have a lot of power because he is going to sit on the government oversight committee as the chair. He's the front runner in the chair race because Darrell Issa, the current chair, is not going to be able to run for re-election. So there's a lot of different things, small changes that may have big effects in the long term. So that's sort of what's happening county politics I know of.
Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in on politics from these kids these days? Give us 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, I think, when it comes to local politics, those are the ones that you have the most control over and have the biggest effects on you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times people feel like, some people in Washington, that's politics. Politics is your neighborhood, It's your HOA, and it's your city, and it's your city council. And, what they say and what they do affects, where you can build a house or what you can build on your property and your taxes. And so I think a lot of the time people get frustrated with what's happening in Washington and just associate local politics with that too and say, I'm done. I don't want to participate. However, I do think participating, even if you don't like the federal and even state level politics, you can make a big change for yourself and for your neighbors if you participate in local elections and primaries and caucuses. And so I'd say just, even though it may not be the most exciting thing, let your voice be heard. Have an opinion. And that way you don't have to worry about things changing out of your control.
Wonderful. Ladies, anything? No?
No, don't.
These two guys are kind of the politic guru guys.
Yeah, we're the politicians.
We just have a few minutes left. I want you to tell me, I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this. I'm just going to read what I wrote down. I said, do you want to be successful? And then I want you to define to me what successful is. President, we'll start with you. Do you want to be successful? And if so, I want you to define what successful is.
Yes, I want to be successful. I think that you can find success in being happy. Like, that sounds really cheesy, but that's what success is. It's not if you're rich or if your business is doing really well or if you're well known by a lot of people. I think success is when you're happy with the way you're living your life. And so I want to be successful by having a job that I enjoy, but not necessarily making a bunch of money, just being able to live comfortably with people I love.
Thank you. Luke, do you want to be successful?
Yeah.
And if so, why? Or what is your definition of successful?
So I agree with a lot of what President Bocanegra said about being successful. Doesn't always mean necessarily how much money you have, but I think that is part of the equation for me. The amount of money that I have will be able to not necessarily, it won't ever, if I have for my family a sufficient amount of money, that will never be a problem. And I think that maybe that is a problem sometimes in America today, why people get divorced, why things happen, is because of money issues. But I do think my own happiness is basically the family that I will have, and how happy we are internally, and hopefully that will be very happy. So business-wise, hopefully I'll be successful, and in life in general, hopefully be successful with my family.
Thank you. Liz, your thoughts on, do you want to be successful, and what is your definition of successful?
Well, of course I want to be successful. I don't know anyone who doesn't want to be successful, but going along with what they were saying, I think adding on to that, I think success is succeeding in something that you really try hard in. And if you are really putting in that work to accomplish something, when you accomplish it, that's going to bring the happiness and the success. It doesn't have to necessarily be a lot of money or fame or fortune, but if it's just achieving what you want to achieve.
Well put. Tate, do you want to be successful? And if so, what is your definition of successful?
Well, yeah, of course you want to be successful, but there are drawbacks to being successful. I love the definition they put forth of achieving your own personal success. But if you look at kind of society's view of success, that's kind of the more common place for success. I think that can, it brings you money or being well known, and a lot of the time that is very helpful. And you can have financial freedom and independence and be able to do the things you want. However, I think a lot of the time you can end up being too successful. You can spend too much of your time, too much of your energy on one specific thing and neglect other things in your life that would also yield happiness. So I think, with anything, there's a balance.
Wow, that's good stuff. I got one last question for each of you as we finish up the last couple minutes. The title of this show is called Kids These Days. And that phrase is generally used in they kind of roll their eyes and a little bit of a sigh and, oh my goodness, kids these days. Again, let's start with you, President. I want you to tell me the state of kids these days from your perspective and where it's going from here. How you feel about being one of those kids these days, what you see coming. So put yourself in the kids these days conversation.
I think that one of the problems with kids these days is that they feel entitled. They feel entitled to free education. I know a lot of people think that they shouldn't have to pay for college and that they should just be given a job. People need to know I think kids need to learn how to develop a work ethic where they can work hard and be able to learn how to provide for themselves. So I think that one of the problems with kids these days is that there's not enough work ethic developed.
Is there a positive spin on kids these days that you see?
Yeah. We're a lot smarter than the generation before us. We've been taught so many different things in schools that the generation before us hasn't. Like, we know all about technology and we know a lot more math than they did. We just have higher developing classes that we've learned. So we're a lot smarter and we can build on that and become even smarter than the generation before us.
Thanks, President. Luke.
I think that if our generation doesn't get in our own way, we will be one of the most successful or necessarily moving progress of technology, of social culture, and all that, more than any generation before us, because the problems that some necessarily quote-unquote old people see in us, I think are things that when we get into the real world, like this innovation and these things with technology, it's going to be wonderful as long as we don't let things that we've built, like that our past generations have built upon, stumble and fall away. So I think that a lot of the things that the generation says is wrong with us, who taught us that? That's why I always wonder. It's like, well, if they feel entitled, who taught them to feel entitled? Well, it was your parents. So I do think that this generation, there's a lot of high hopes for it, and that if we don't get in our own way, then we will be very successful.
Thanks, Luke. Liz, kids these days, what's your part of the conversation?
I think that statement, kids these days, has always kind of bothered me because it's such a generalization. I think that there are a lot of teenagers and children that are not on the right track or not doing the things that they're supposed to. But I think that there is a lot of kids and teens that are trying their best and they're really trying to improve themselves. And, there's how Katrina was talking about the problem of entitlement, and there's a lot of selfishness I see, but there is a lot of good also. And so it's not a fair statement to say kids these days.
Thank you. Tate.
I think the thing with our generation, I think we'll have way good kids. I think the last part of our generation and our kids will be some of the hardest working, smartest, most innovative people that we've ever seen. I think we do have a problem with entitlement. I think we do have a problem with laziness and selfishness. And I think, a society cannot sustain itself with behaviors like that. And so I think it comes to a do or die situation at that point. You can't have everybody not working. You can't have everybody on welfare. So I think what happens is you either die or you do. And I really think that our generation will be able to do and become great.
Today's show is brought to you by Guild Mortgage Company. Guild Mortgage Company, NMLS 3274 Equal Housing Lender, Tom Stone, NMLS 257849. The information contained in this training has been prepared and distributed for educational purposes only and do not represent the opinions of Guild Mortgage Company. But I have to add, the opinion shared in this training and this educational purpose is truly probably my favorite show. I have sat in awe of what I've listened to. I have complete trust in kids these days, by the way. So I've waited my turn. I'm probably overtime. But I cannot tell you how absolutely impressed I am, certainly with you four, and as you being the leaders and mentors, and I have kids coming up. I can't tell you how absolutely confident I am that this is going to work out just fine. And just like you said, I can't wait. I've told Tate, by the way, in case I didn't say so, Tate is my son. I've told Tate, I said, I can't wait to watch the movie unfold, his movie unfold. I can't wait to sit with my popcorn and my Junior Mints and just see what he's going to become. And the same holds true for you guys. So I'll be one of the older guys that'll probably need some of your assistance and help. I'll come to you and say, hey, can I help you with your campaigns, or can I help you? Can you teach me a few things? Because I know you will be those people who will take us to that next level. So thank you so much for coming. Would you ever come back?
Of course.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Are you going to leave the state of Utah for school, or are you going to stick around?
I'm going to BYU Provo.
BYU?
UVU.
BYU Hawaii.
I'm just going to move to Uruguay.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Tate's going to go on a mission. So, well, thank you again for coming in on the show and truly enlightening myself and anyone who's listening. This will begin. This will be on again at 6 o'clock tonight, and then it's on my Facebook, Tom Stone Guild Mortgage Heber City. I record these and I put all the shows on there. So if anybody needs to say, you've got to hear this show, just realize it's on the internet through my Facebook, and it's on YouTube as well. So thanks for coming, and we'll see everybody or talk next week.